Radar update. Of course, across Central Florida, the big weather story is going to be the threat of stronger storms that are little by little marching their way into town. Here's a live look outside on our first warning Doppler radar, where at least for now, the good news is things are relatively quiet. We have not had any kind of severe thunderstorm warning or anything like that in Central Florida or in our coverage area, but we have had some storms marching through. Here's a live look outside. This is on our tower cam network. We're looking toward downtown Orlando, certainly some gray skies sitting over top, but for now, we are A-okay. That said, our first warning Doppler radar is tracking some heavier bands of rain that are moving into town. So let's come right back over to our live radar, and you can very clearly see in the heart of the tourist district, that's where we're watching some of these heavier downpours. The good news, and I'm going to stop this loop here for just a moment, the good news is that there is nothing severe, but down just south of the airport along the 417, there's Flamingo into Hunters Creek, you can very clearly see some of these little pockets of heavier rainfall right along the 417. Of course, that's Landstar Boulevard. That's out near Orange Avenue. We're getting out toward Hunters Creek Boulevard, right along the Osceola Parkway. Williamsburg, that, of course, is right where SeaWorld is. So we're in the SeaWorld and Universal Studios corridor. That's where we've seen several lightning strikes earlier. The good news at the moment, we're not seeing any significant lightning, but as we widen this perspective out, you can kind of see while downtown Orlando is looking good at the moment, we're watching some heavier downpours up around Union Park and Waterford Lakes. We'll come in a little closer here. There's Colonial right along the line there. There's the 408 right where it ends. So UCF right in here, while it is nice and dry for now, these storms should be gradually working in your direction. Wider perspective showing another line of strong storms. Now, these are the ones that are going to wake some people up. They're working into the Four Corners as we speak. There's Lake Buena Vista, so we're getting out near the Disney complex. But out around the Four Corners area, let's take a look at our first warning Doppler radar's velocity. And currently we're finding winds in there of about 40 to 50 miles an hour. But you've got to remember these storms are already moving at about 40 or so miles an hour. They're not severe, but they are indeed strong. So if you live down around the Disney area, Bay Hill, Dr. Phillips, and Windermere, that next area, that next line of storms, that's going to be the next one that's going to get your attention, okay? That said, I do want to put a storm track. These are moving again at about 35 to 40 miles an hour. So let me put a storm track on this as these storms are marching through toward downtown Orlando and then, of course, up toward the University of Central Florida. So let me put this full screen so that you can see the timeline there. And we're actually going to move our inset over to the other side of the screen here. So Kissimmee, by about 10:39. So you've got a couple of minutes until this next batch of heavy rain and gusty winds move into town. After Kissimmee, it's going to be Windermere at 10:48. Then we get over to Dr. Phillips. If you live around Gotha, it's 10:52. Orlo Vista at 10:58. Pine Hills at 11 o'clock. Downtown Orlando at 11:03. That's when that next wave of heavy rain will be moving in. There are several lightning strikes in this cell, but the good news is, let me clear that storm track out of the way. The good news is we are not looking at any kind of rotation in there. We'll take a look at our rotation tracker just to be safe. And we're not seeing any of that. Now let's come out to the wider perspective. Let me put on our Tampa radar. This is going to be the radar closest to the Gulf of Mexico. And that line out off the Gulf Coast, that line is going to be the one that we think gives the strongest storms. Let me put this into motion here, and you can very clearly see as those storms are working on toward the coastline, there are the strongest storms. Now, let's put on the shear product, the wind shear, and for now, we're not seeing much in the way of rotation. This one here around Rosewood, let me just take a look at the velocity channel. Maybe a little bit of rotation there. Maybe a little bit of a kink. We'll have to watch and see how that plays out. But you can see there are these little pockets of rain, these little pockets of storms that are going to be moving in. And back over to the Tampa radar, just to give you an idea, you can see those storms continue all the way out into the Gulf of Mexico. But of course, in our area, what we're watching are the storms that are marching now into Kissimmee, into Flamingo Park. We're working into Davenport and, of course, into the tourist district. So those are the storms that we're watching. Not severe, thankfully, but we are going to be monitoring for the threat of severe storms, all right? Is it going to be bad in Palm Coast? I mean, I would say that for us today, there is the threat of some stronger storms. And of course, as I'm saying that, I do want to point out, because just saw this on the tower cam, there's a live look in downtown Orlando. Did just have a downpour move through. And of course, you can expect to see more of that type of downpour action over the course of the day today. We are under a level 2 out of 5 risk for strong to severe storms. That level 2 means scattered strong to severe storms in the forecast for today. All right, my friends? So it's not going to be a perfect day. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's just not. It's just not. It's just not going to be a perfect day. All right, Patty, is it going to be bad in Palm Coast, Deltona, Vieira? I would say that everybody has kind of an equal shot of getting some of these stronger storms. So let's take a look at Futurecast, and let's just roll through times here, okay? There's 11, 12 o'clock, and we can very clearly see those storms working into Marion County. So the next couple of hours, those storms that we were just showing you out in the Gulf of Mexico, they're going to be knocking on your doorstep and working through to Volusia County. Afterward, we're working through 3 p.m. Marion, Sumter, Lake County, approaching Orange and Seminole County by about 4 or 5 o'clock, and then clearing out of our area by about 7, 8 o'clock. All right, so everybody's asking, like, what's the tornado threat? What's the this threat? What's the that threat? I think the biggest concern is going to be strong straight line winds, but don't be surprised if we get several thunderstorm warnings, several severe thunderstorm warnings, several concerns where we're talking about tornado threats, okay? So just so that we're on the same page here, you can see in the bottom left corner of your screen there, we are under a tornado watch. That tornado watch means that conditions are favorable, that we do think we've got the conditions in play to get a tornado, or at least rotating storm. So everybody that's asking this location and that location, I'm here to tell you the answer is yes, there is the threat for tornadoes. When we break down our severe threats, the threat for damaging winds on a scale of 1 to 10 is running in that 4-5 category. What about the tornado threat? For most of Central Florida, it's in that 4-5 category. So yes, that is a concern, okay? When we talk about hail, I do not think that hail is going to be a big concern for us. I think that hail is going to be our lowest concern. I do think, though, severe thunderstorms with winds of 58 miles an hour, 60 miles per hour or greater, and tornadoes, I do think that those are going to be the two big players in our overall weather picture, okay? But for right now, at the moment, what we're watching for, the big concern, my friends, is these storms here marching through the heart of the tourist district from the Four Corners. We just had a downpour move into downtown Orlando. I would say Disney Universe, the tourist district is about to get a nice heavy thunderstorm, and that's going to continue working into downtown Orlando. All right, there are no severe thunderstorm warnings in our area. Let me just make sure. Yeah. There are no tornado warnings in our area, but these are the kinds of things that we are going to be monitoring for you over the course of the day today. Wider perspective showing those storms moving through, but look to the left side. It's those storms that are out in the Gulf of Mexico. Those are going to be the storms that we are going to have to watch. So if you live in Marion County, those storms are already starting to knock on your doorstep. And I just want to take a look again. Jacksonville is your closest radar. And I just want to see, there's a couple of little areas, nothing showing up on our radar, but their radar's closer. Like this area right in there, that's kind of, that's something that I would be watching closely for, but that should skip. That should go up toward Gainesville and Micanopy. But it just kind of goes to show, let's go back to the Jacksonville radar. That just goes to show, that there are cells that have some interest to them. So we'll be watching the radar throughout the day, keeping you, of course, up to date. Brittany says, I live by Disney and it's pouring. Very good. So Ocala, Marion, okay with no tornado. Sky, I literally just was saying you are under a tornado watch. We're going to have to watch for the threat of tornadoes in your neighborhood and across the rest of town. Wider perspective showing Again, that line of storms. All right? All right, we'll be keeping you up to date. Of course, meteorologist Cam Tran will be with you today on WESH 2 News at noon with the latest, and I'll be here on the social channels throughout the day as is needed. Bye, guys.